It's a cold night in Paris in 1786. Long carts roll quietly through the empty streets. Each cart is stacked high with human bones. Priests walk beside them, chanting in low voices. Black cloth is draped over every wagon. This grim parade only moves after dark. The bones once rested in the city graveyards. For 1,000 years, Paris buried its dead in churchyards. But the graveyards have run catastrophically out of room. The largest is called the Holy Innocents Cemetery. 2 million bodies are crammed into one small plot. Corpses are stacked dozens deep in shared pits. The soil itself rises higher than the streets nearby. The smell of decay drifts into the surrounding homes. Merchants complain that food spoils within hours. Perfume makers say their scents turn rancid. Then, in 1780, a cellar wall finally gives way. A heavy spring of rain soaks the saturated ground. The pressure of the dead breaks through the earth. Rotting corpses spill into a neighboring basement. Families wake to find the dead in their homes. The city realizes it can no longer ignore this. Paris desperately needs somewhere to put the dead. And beneath the city lies a forgotten answer. For centuries, miners had dug under the streets. They quarried limestone to build the city above. The great cathedrals were carved from this very rock. But the digging left vast empty tunnels behind. Mile after mile of hollow passages spread underground. These quarries weave directly beneath Paris itself. In places, the ground above had already collapsed. Whole buildings had vanished into sudden pits. So the king orders the tunnels mapped and braced. Workers reinforce the weakest passages with pillars. And the officials make a chilling decision. The empty quarries will become a giant tomb. A priest blesses the tunnels as sacred ground. Then the great migration of the dead begins. Crews exhume the graveyards one plot at a time. They lift skulls and long bones from the soil. The fragile remains are loaded onto the wagons. By night, the carts roll toward the tunnel shafts. Workers tip the bones down deep, vertical wells. They cascade into the darkness far below. For years, the bones simply pile in chaotic heaps. Mountains of remains fill chamber after chamber. The work continues for decades without rest. Cemetery after cemetery is emptied into the dark. Then a new official takes charge of the project. His name is Héricart de Thury, an engineer. He looks at the chaos and sees something more. He decides the dead deserve a proper order. So he turns the heaps into careful architecture. Workers stack thigh bones into solid walls. The long bones are packed tightly like firewood. Then skulls are pressed into the wall faces. Row upon row of empty eye sockets stare out. The skulls form crosses across the femur walls. In one chamber, a heart shape is built from skulls. Behind these walls, looser bones fill the gaps. The decorated wall is only a thin, polite face. Hundreds of yards of these walls take shape. Every chamber holds the dead of a vanished parish. Plaques mark which graveyard each pile came from. The remains of entire neighborhoods rest together. Rich and poor are now stacked side by side. Death has finally erased every difference between them. No name survives among these 6 million people. Carved verses warn the living of their fate. One passage announces, "This is the empire of death." The visitor is reminded that all flesh must end. Above this tomb, the living city carries on. People shop and laugh and never look down. Beneath their feet lie 200 miles of tunnels. Only a small stretch is ever open to visitors. The rest remains a forbidden underground maze. During the Great Wars, fighters hid in these depths. Resistance cells met secretly among the dead. Enemy soldiers built a bunker in the same tunnels. The two camps sat almost within earshot below. Smugglers used the passages to move hidden goods. Others came simply to throw forbidden parties. Some wandered in and were never seen again. One man got lost down here long ago. His body was found 11 years after he vanished. He had been a doorkeeper of a nearby church. He carried keys he would never use again. Today, explorers still slip into the closed sections. They wade through black water up to the waist. They crawl through gaps barely wide enough to pass. Many describe an oppressive and total silence. The air grows thick and hard to breathe. The temperature stays cold all year underground. Water drips endlessly from the limestone ceilings. Some tunnels have flooded into perfect mirrors. Others have caved in and sealed themselves forever. Engineers still patrol to keep the city from sinking. They watch for new cracks spreading through the rock. A single weak ceiling could swallow a street above. The whole of Paris balances on this hollow ground. Back in the public tunnels, the tour descends deep. Visitors climb down well over 100 steps. The modern world disappears behind them. They walk a long, dark gallery toward the tomb. Then they reach the threshold of the ossuary. Beyond it, the walls are made entirely of people. Skulls watch from every side as they pass. The path winds for nearly a mile underground. Each step passes thousands of silent dead. Visitors are forbidden to touch the fragile bones, yet some still steal a skull as a souvenir. Guards search every bag at the exit door. Stolen skulls are quietly returned to the walls. Cameras now watch the passages for thieves. The dead are guarded more closely than ever. Scientists study the bones for clues to old lives. They read disease and hunger in the worn remains. Some skulls show wounds from violent ends. Others reveal the soft bones of starving children. The bones record centuries of plague and famine. They are the only history these people left behind. Plague swept this city again and again. The Black Death alone emptied half the streets. Mass graves from those years feed the tunnels too. Every catastrophe of the city ends down here. Famine, war, and disease all flow underground. The catacombs are the memory of a whole city. Above ground, the old cemeteries became gardens. Children now play where the dead once lay. The Holy Innocents site is now a market square. Few who pass know what once filled this ground. The dead were not destroyed, only moved away. They simply traded one darkness for another. 6 million Parisians now rest in the rock. That is more people than live in the city today. The dead outnumber the living beneath their feet. Most residents have never gone down to see them. They live their whole lives above the tomb. The bones simply wait in the cold and dark. They do not decay any further down here. The dry stone keeps them as they are. Time barely seems to move in these tunnels. A skull placed 2 centuries ago has not shifted. The walls of the dead stand exactly as built. You can still walk among them right now. They remain open beneath the streets every day. The tour ends with another long climb up. Visitors emerge blinking into the ordinary world. They step back into a city built upon the dead. Behind them, the gate closes on the tomb, and 6 million skulls return to the silence. Far below the bright streets of Paris, the dead still wait in the cold, dark stone, exactly where the living quietly left them. It's another cold night in Paris, and the dead are still there.